Contesera beauty pageant fans. My name is Ayce, and we have a very special guest with us today. But before we begin, please like, share, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so that we can continue to bring content like this to beauty pageant lovers all over the world. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce our Miss Reigning City of Angels, Rebecca Arianne Edwards.
Hi, how are
Hi.
you?
It's so good to have you on the podcast,
Yes, it's so good
on the
to be
show.
here.
How are you today?
I am super excited. I already have my countdown for Miss California USA, so it just makes me even more excited about the competition coming up.
We're so excited for you. I know it's like 70-something days away.
Yeah, we got 76
so close.
days. I have a countdown on my phone, so I wake up and I see it, and it's like, okay,
Oh, that's
we're
so
here.
good. So, before we begin, we wanted to get to know you a little bit better and your pageant journey, Rebecca. So, tell us about yourself and tell us about, how you got started in pageants and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, so hi everyone. My name is Rebecca Edwards. I'm originally from New Orleans, Louisiana. I moved out here to LA during the COVID time, so that was, clearly I like to take risks.
Yeah.
But I've always been a pageant lover. My mom actually competed in pageants before I was born. Her mentors were Guy and Rex, so if you keep up with Miss USA pageants, you remember the Texas Aces and the California wins. That was Guy and Rex, and so they were my mom's first pageant coaches. And I always grew up hearing of just the glamour of pageants, but I didn't see myself ever competing until I was in my adult age. So when I was in my mid-20s, I was like, you know what? Let's just try it. Let's just try it. Yeah, and it's kind of crazy. My mom never forced it. She just was like, whenever you want to, feel the need to do it. And so I think I was around 23, did my first pageant, and I just fell in love. I have
pageant bug.
I have the bug bad. I have it bad, and I love it. And so now I'm preparing for Miss California USA this summer. And super excited because we're trying to get all the way to Universe.
Yes. And so for our viewers that don't know, this is one of the pathways, to
Yes.
in the Miss Universe system. And so you'll be moving on to, as we said, Miss California, and then hopefully on to Miss Universe. That's correct?
Yeah. So California, then USA, then Universe.
So it was USA.
All the competitive pageants, right?
Oh my gosh. We've spoken with many girls that kind of go through this pageant system, and some of them start pretty young, and some of them start in their adult life. And you mentioned that you started in your adult life. So what kind of, why weren't you thinking about it when you were younger? Because you seem to kind of live in this world with your
Yeah.
mother being in the pageant world.
Yeah.
And so why in your 20s, what was the kind of switch for you there?
I would definitely say it was because when I was younger, I was painfully shy. Like, my mom would call me a wallflower. Like, if you asked me my name, I probably would have passed out. Like, it was way too much for me. But I think in my 20s, I really just gathered who I was as an individual. And part of that came from my former English teacher turned debate coach. And he really was like, I really think you should join speech and debate. And I was like, Mr. Brown, you're crazy. I'm not doing it. But he really just kind of stayed on me. And that helped me blossom into the woman that I am today. So I did speech and debate all throughout high school, throughout my collegiate years. So I actually went to Texas Southern University on scholarship for debate, and so
Wow,
got
okay,
to compete.
so she can...
Yeah, I can. You're not going to win an argument with me. But it was such a great experience because it gave me like this drive to compete, and I think I've always naturally been a competitive person, but taking it to that level on the national level and the international level, because I'm not going to gas myself up, but I do have 4 international speech and debate wins, so
Wow.
It just brought out this fire in me, and I think that I compare debate a lot to pageantry, and I think just being in that space, feeling really confident in yourself is what made me be like, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's just do it.
Yeah, no, that's, I think, the queens that we have spoken to, they always just kind of have that motto, like, just do it, see if you like it, and see if it's for you, and it seems like this has, been something for you.
Yes, I love pageantry so much. I tell people all the time, especially young girls, if you have an opportunity to do it, just do it once. You never really know what your end goal is, especially for a lot of women. Like, some people, they don't want to go to Miss Universe, and that's totally fine. But I think it gives you an opportunity to dig deep and become grounded because, for example, Miss California has probably like 90 girls competing. And out of all 90, everyone's gorgeous and talented and beautiful, and they're doing amazing things. But you have to realize what makes you stand out, what makes you unique. And I think that that's such a great experience for everyone to have throughout your adult life. And sometimes, we learn those lessons and it's not so great. It can be kind of catastrophic. So a pageant is a good way to learn that lesson, learn who you are, and get friends out of it too. So, yeah.
So I like that. I like the idea that, I think when a lot of people compete, they think of it as the kind of the end all and be all.
Yeah.
That competition then defines who they are for the rest of their lives.
Right.
But you kind of see it as it's something that can develop who I am as a person.
Absolutely.
So I know you competed in your adult life. So what was that first pageant for you like, and what lessons did you learn that first time?
Oh my goodness, the first. Woo! Don't show any pictures from my first pageant. I learned a lot. I think not that I was in over my head, but I think the biggest thing is that I was overthinking. And sometimes, I don't know if you're like me, I was like an AP kid. I was gifted and talented. So everything, if I did it once, I got it right. That's what I was used to. But pageantry, you really, really got to work it. And so I had to let go of overthinking and just really lean into what I know that I am naturally good at. That first pageant, we're far from that. We thank God. We thank God for growth. But I just love that every time that I've had an opportunity to compete, I've grown as an individual. And you really get to see, how far can I really take it? And not in a bad way, but, I think we naturally put limits on ourselves because we get tired or we get frustrated. But pageantry really takes tenacity. It's not about, who spent the most money, who has the biggest team. It's really about tenacity. Can you push through when you're tired or when your feet are blistering or, when your hair is out of place or little things are bothering you? Can you push forward? And I think that has just been the greatest lesson for me in every pageant that I've done.
Yeah, no, this idea that, perfection really, I think, as you were saying, growing up and wanting to get everything right the first time.
Yeah.
But then kind of building that tenacity over time and kind of pushing forward. I think that's the important part of anything we do, right?
Yeah, definitely. And especially if you're trying to be very competitive in pageants, my path, I don't know why this is the path that I have taken or that life has put in front of me, but California is one of the big competitive pageants for Miss USA. So you got to beat out 100 girls, then go to USA, beat out another 50 girls, then get to Universe with another 100 and something, countries. And so I think that's where that tenacity kicks in because you got to be able to stand out amongst a lot of really great people. And so I don't know. I love it. It's a weird space, but I love it because I know my friends who don't do pageants, they're like, girl, what are you doing? Why have you... But they're supportive. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
My family, my friends are just so supportive of the journey, and I just love that I can be able to share my story in pageantry and my goals and dreams, just by going on this kind of crazy path.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people don't understand, the decisions that we make in life.
Yeah.
But I know that the people that love us, they don't necessarily have to understand to support us, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Because no one is always going to be on board with, maybe you should have gone to school or you should have done this, and why did you decide to do that? And I think first and foremost, it's not I can only do this and not do that, right?
Right.
I know I've talked with many girls that do this in addition to so many other things that they're doing. And so I want to talk more about that with you. And so I know that in addition to kind of competing in beauty pageants, you have an advocacy for yourself, right?
Yes.
That kind of is the centerpiece of everything you do. So can you share that with us and why it's important to you?
Yeah, so my platform is actually called Coloring California, and it is focused on impacting and emboldening people to tell their stories in the diverse community of California. We know that California is just so beautiful, not only in its diversity in geographics, right? You go to NorCal, it's so different from SoCal, right?
Yeah.
But you're also meeting people from various different communities and backgrounds and religions, and it is important for me to have people feel confident in using their voice. And like I said before, I did speech and debate. I'm actually a speech and debate coach, and so I work with high school kids, which is fun within itself, but I really want people to feel comfortable telling their story. That the number one fear, which is crazy, the number one fear in the world is actually public speaking.
Yeah.
And part of that comes from literacy, right? And so my advocacy in emboldening people to tell their story is also paired with increasing literacy rates here in California and across America as well.
Yeah, as someone who is, for the most part, California native, and I
Yeah.
used to live in Northern California.
Really?
Yeah, I used to live in Northern California. And to all of our viewers, California does get snow.
It does.
We do have a beach, but we also do get the snow. And you're right? There's, I think there's a perception of California in the media, right? Of this beach and everything's sunny and everything's beautiful and it's paradise. But we're such a large state and we have so much diversity, and we have we have our share of issues, but we have our beautiful share of things that make us California.
Yes,
right?
definitely.
And wanting to tell our stories is an important part of that.
Yeah.
And I think it's really special that, you're originally from New Orleans, but you've come to California and you've kind of seen, how diverse and all the stories that kind of belong here.
Yeah.
I like that perspective. Can you explain to me, what was it like coming from New Orleans and then moving to California? Like, how did your perspective change?
Oh my goodness, that's a really good question, because actually, so I left New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, and I finished school in Houston and then moved my way to California. So it was weird because I had to start seeing California as my home. But the one thing that I noticed that is very similar is that California is so rich in culture and history. And that's very much like New Orleans. Like, you go to New Orleans and people are talking about the food, we're talking about the music, we're talking about the fact that the city is older, almost older than the United States, right? Like, it's over 300 years old, right? And so it's so nice because it gives me like that piece of home, and I still get to bring it here to California. And so I felt like after Katrina, people wanted to tell their stories of what New Orleans was and not allow the citizens, the folks, the natives, to tell what's important to them. And I see that happening a lot in California. The school that I coach speech and debate at is in South Central. And so a lot of the kids, their backgrounds, their communities, their families, they don't feel like they can tell their stories. They don't feel like it's important. And so a lot of times we just need somebody to give us that push, like, no, it's important. We don't know who we're going to impact, right? And I think oftentimes we get married to the end result, right? Like, if I do this, then this is exactly how it's going to play out. But that's not true. Sometimes it takes you telling your story, and if one person hears it, you don't know how it can change their lives. So I instill that in my students, and I'm hoping to do that with my platform as well.
Yeah, no, I can completely see, right? It's we often see that we often only try to see the end goal, and we don't appreciate the process along the way.
Right. It's all about what did Miley Cyrus say? It's the climb.
It's the climb.
But it's so true. Like, and it's the exact same way with pageantry. Like, it's not how you, well, it is kind of how you perform on stage, but it really is the journey, right? Like, are you building that tenacity? Are you building discipline? Are you making an impact in your community? That's the real gift of pageantry, because then you're able to get that resilience, that tenacity, just that drive to be the best version of yourself. And so it's exciting. It's exciting.
Very exciting to hear. It's very, very exciting to hear. So we're so glad to have gotten to know you so much better, Rebecca, to learn about your advocacy, your past, and how it connects to your pageant. So we want to move on to our next part.
Okay.
We call this our yes, no, maybe portion. And as our viewers have known, so we ask you a series of questions, and you can only answer yes, no, or maybe.
Okay.
Okay?
No pressure.
No pressure. And then at the end, we'll select 3 questions that we think deserve a little extra context from you.
Okay.
Right?
Cool beans.
So we'll begin. No pressure. Well, a little pressure.
Dun, dun, dun.
All right. So remember, yes, no, or maybe.
Yes, no, or maybe. Okay.
Would you ever star in a reality TV show?
Yes.
Do you have any hidden talents?
Maybe.
Maybe. Do you think beauty pageants are still relevant in the United States?
Yes.
Would you ever go to space?
No.
Would you consider moving to another state?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think beauty standards are evolving in the right direction?
Maybe.
Maybe. Do you think perfection is overrated?
Yes.
If you had a time machine, would you use it and change the past?
Maybe.
Maybe. Do you think the Miss Universe pageant should include a talent portion?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. That might get a little long.
I know. Would you ever consider joining another pageant system if you had the chance?
Maybe.
Maybe, okay.
Maybe.
Are you someone who wears their heart on their sleeves?
Yes.
Do you think everyone has a higher purpose in life?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you believe in déjà vu?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you believe social media is more harmful than helpful?
No.
No. Have you ever had to say no to something big to stay true to your advocacy?
Yes.
Do you believe inner beauty should weigh more than physical beauty in scoring?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Have you ever had a moment of self-doubt during your pageant journey?
Yes.
Yes. Have you personally faced criticism for choosing the pageant path?
Yes.
Yes. Do you think joining beauty pageants are expensive?
Yes. Oh, Lord, yes.
This is our last question. Do you think your advocacy will still matter 10 years from now?
Absolutely, yes.
Absolutely, yes. Okay. All right. Okay, so we'll pick about 3 questions.
Ooh.
But if there's anything else at the end that you really, kind of stuck out to you and you want to explain a little bit more,
Yeah.
let me know.
Okay.
And we'll go over that as well.
Okay, cool
But
beans.
we'll begin with our 3 questions. All right. I always love to ask the girls this because, it's all. I think a lot of our interviewees have said yes, but they've said it in different ways.
Yeah.
And so, I like this question. So, have you ever had a moment of self-doubt during your pageant journey? And
Oh,
you said
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So what was that experience like for you?
It was almost kind of jarring because I've always felt like I was pretty self-confident, especially in pageantry. Like once I got to my 20s, I'm like, okay, take me as I am. But when you get to this space where you're like, I want to be more competitive, you tend to overthink and you start to nitpick. And I found myself like really nitpicking at who I was. I had like a bad pageant experience and, pageantry is great, right? But there's always bad apples in anything that you do. And so I had a lot of negativity coming my way, and I didn't realize how it was impacting me and how I viewed myself. And so with a lot of self-reflection, support from my family, and most importantly, therapy. I am a huge advocate for therapy, especially when you're in such a space that can be critical. It helped me remind myself who I was and know that, like, hey, you don't have to be like another girl. You don't have to do things exactly how another girl did it. Like, her path was her path. Your path is going to be different. And I had to accept that, which is like this radical acceptance, because I think in pageantry, especially when you talk about fans and analysts, everybody's like, if you do it exactly like this, you're going to win the pageant. But that's not true. And I think once I released myself of that, I was able to just blossom and become the woman that I am right now, who's super confident and super excited about this next journey in pageantry.
It's great to hear. Not only, you talked about your path on setting yourself right.
Yeah.
Right? And that included, your community, that included getting outside help.
Yeah,
And I
definitely.
think a lot of us are, we're hard pressed to kind of admit when we need help.
Yeah.
Right? Especially when we're going through some sort of mental health
Right.
issue. But I do think it is important that, you're talking about these experiences
Oh,
and how
absolutely.
they've helped you.
I'm a huge advocate for therapy. I am a huge advocate for therapy because everyone benefits, right?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter what you're going through. Actually, when I moved to California, one of the first things that I did was get into therapy because I was like, wow, this is a really big transition. I'm far away from home, like my parents, and I want to make sure that I am taking advantage of this opportunity and not still being stuck to things at home or like getting too homesick. And I wanted to make sure that this was an easier transition. And it helped me kind of get really ingrained in the community better. And so if I could do that just for something, I'm oversimplifying, but something as simple as moving to another state, then why not do it for pageantry?
Yeah, no, I think, the idea that we need help at all times in our lives, and
Yeah.
especially through major transitions like
Yeah.
that is really important.
Yeah.
So very cool.
Thank you.
All right. I like this question. I think it's it's a funny question that we. I guess give us. So you answered. I think you answered maybe to this. Do you think the Miss Universe pageant should include a talent
Oh, yeah.
portion? And I think you said maybe.
Maybe.
So why would you say maybe?
Only because it would be long. It would be long. You know, before we even get to USA, you're like, girl, I'm going to sleep. And so I think if it was like an optional, it works. But on the other side of it, it's like, I feel like when it comes down to big beauty pageants and we're talking about talent, you're only talking about what is good on stage. And not everybody has like an on stage talent.
Yeah.
And I think that that's where it gets a little difficult. But if I had $1 for any time somebody was like, oh, you're going for Miss California? What's your talent? And I'm like, my talent is being cute, girl. And walking across the stage in 6-inch heels. That is actually huge talent.
I would love to see you debate live on stage. I think it would be so fun.
Catch me for the onstage Q&A. I got you.
All right. Let's see. You've already answered that.
These were good questions.
Oh yeah.
These were great
This
questions.
you have to thank our producer for that because he really was like, I want some good questions. I want some good questions. Okay. I think I think this is a really special question for you as well. So, we talked about your advocacy and how important that is for you. So you said yes. So you think your advocacy will still matter in 10 years from now. So that is true, but I'd love to kind of push it a little bit further.
Yeah.
So how will it matter 10 years from now as we kind of talk about how, California will transform in 10 years?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, first thing that comes to mind is like my students. I have a couple of like little freshman babies who are on the speech and debate team. And so I know 10 years from now, they will have already graduated high school, graduated college, hopefully well into their careers. And so at that point, I will have known I've already made a difference, right? Because these are kids who wouldn't really have an opportunity had it not been for school. Like I've seen some of these students who would flat out refuse to speak. Like they're like, Miss, I'm not saying it. And I'm like, come on, babe, like you have something great to say. And now we're coming to the end of the school year and they're volunteering to speak. They're now saying that they want to be attorneys and like really being like excited about their future. And so that alone, it's like, I've already made a difference because I helped somebody in my path. But also additionally, I just think that in the United States, we know that on average, the literacy rate is maybe that of a 6th grade level on average. And so by encouraging more people to do more public speaking, encouraging them to be confident in their literacy, we are building better citizens, not just of the United States, but of the world, right? Because literacy helps with your empathy. It helps with your critical thinking. It helps you make better decisions. And so if we continue to advocate for literacy, if we continue to advocate for people to do more public speaking, to tell their stories, to show impact, California could look completely different in 10 years. And so if in 10 years I've encouraged 20 people to read more books, 20 people to tell their stories, I feel like I've done my job in making my little corner of the world the best place that it could be.
Yeah, that's really special because I'm an immigrant, first generation, and so I came to this country when I was 6, 7 years old.
Oh my goodness.
And I do remember, when I was going to school in elementary school, they put us through English as a second language courses, right? And they, gave us special attention so that we could catch up with the rest of the students.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that, learning to read and write, it changed my entire world.
Yeah. Look at you now.
Yeah.
Like, look at you now.
And, just seeing you advocate for that is really special because I do think like reading and writing and, that leads to being able to speak for yourself. That leads to so many open doors that, were closed before.
And I think people underestimate how important it is in every faction of our lives. And so if you just let it fall by the wayside, you don't know how it could help you grow, help you be exposed to new worlds and new cultures. But if folks don't think that it's important to read and, put everything through ChatGPT or AI, nothing against AI, but it's still, if you get too dependent, you're letting somebody else form your thoughts and tell you what you are, doing in this world
Yeah.
instead of you finding it for yourself and creating that journey.
Yeah. No, I think, reading and writing have changed my world, and you see how it's kind of changed the lives of your students. So
Yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Thank you. I love my little babies.
So I think for our final question, since we are in Los Angeles, and you did say yes, and I think this is hilarious. Would you ever star in a reality TV show? So you said yes.
Yes.
I'd love for you to unpack that. So what kind of TV reality show would you like to star in, and why?
I mean, I would definitely like to do something more like lifestyle. I have been on 2 reality shows.
Okay.
I don't know if it's like the same. I did do a game show.
Okay.
So shameless plug. I did the 1% Club. It's on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
First episode. You see my picture. You can't miss it. But that was really exciting to do a game show. And then the second one, it was like kind of as an extra. I did College Hill. And they were filming at my university, at Texas Southern University in Houston. And so we were teaching celebrities, literally Nene Leakes,
Oh, wow.
how to debate.
Oh, gosh.
So, yeah, that was that was a challenge. Yeah. But I think I would like to do something that just like follows the lives of like pageant girls. Like I know reality TV can be kind of messy, but I think so much of the world doesn't realize like how much behind the scenes happens like in preparation. So if somebody decided to like really do like a Miss USA pageant reality
You're giving
show.
us ideas.
Hey,
You're
credit
giving
me,
Contesera
okay?
Pageantry ideas.
Make me an EP, okay? But yeah, I think I would love to be on something like that.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you so much, for sharing our yes, no, maybes. And so we'll move on to our next portion. And I've said this many times before, but the Q&A part is one of my favorite parts of any beauty pageant.
Same here. I'm actually kind of judgmental when it comes down to on stage Q&A. Like I like the other things, but I'm like, she better answer this question right.
Yeah, I think it's in that brief window of time we get to see what's on your mind, right?
Yeah.
So it's a really special part of any beauty pageant for me.
Yes.
And so before we have our own Q&A portion,
let me make sure I'm ready.
we want to know, how do you prepare for Q&A portions? What's your process like to get ready?
It very much mirrors how I do like speech and debate competitions or like how I did competitions. So it is a lot of practice. Like sometimes, especially when we get closer to pageant weekend, I'll have my friends call me at random times. I never tell them when, and the first thing out of their mouth is like a random question. And so it keeps me like on my toes, because I think that on stage Q&A is less about memorizing your answer and more so about understanding what do you want the judges, the audience, to know about you in such a short amount of time. But it takes a little bit of impromptu thinking. So a lot of that, a lot of water, a lot of cough drops. And this old trick that my debate coach, Dr. Thomas F. Freeman, may he rest in peace, he would give us these lemons. He was old school. Like Doc was 100 by the time I was actually on the debate team, like no exaggeration. And so he would give us lemons. He's like, cut it or just eat it like an orange. And as silly as it sounds, it helps you like, almost kind of shocks you a little bit because it's so sour, but it keeps you like really, lubricated, no dry mouth, no cotton mouth. And I use that as well in preparation for on-stage Q&A.
Wow, I think that's great advice. I think I'll start using it for our podcast.
Yes, tell me if it works. I like it. It feels insane, but I promise you it works.
I'll have our producer take notes. We'll have some lemon drops, lemon slices before we
can do lemon drops too.
Great. Okay, so we do have our questions here.
Oh.
Right, and these are questions from the 2016 Miss Universe pageant that took place in the Philippines.
Okay, let me rewind and make sure I can remember. No.
So I have several questions here.
Okay.
You'll pick out the questions.
Okay.
I think we have time for 3, and then we have our producer as well, and he'll have his timer on 30 seconds.
Okay.
30 seconds on the dot.
Oh, my
And
goodness.
so once you pick your question, I'll read it to you, and
Okay.
then our producer will start our timer. So you ready?
I am ready.
Okay.
No
all
pressure.
right. So 2016 Miss Universe held in the Philippines.
Do. Somebody cue the music. That wasn't Steve Harvey, was it?
That was Steve Harvey.
I like Steve, though. I
like Steve,
I
too.
like
I
Steve.
mean,
He's a great host. I thought he was a great host. I mean, the mix-up, it happens, but...
It created one of the most memorable moments,
Honestly.
right?
Can we be mad about that?
I can't. I think it was, Pia Wurtzbach is one of the most memorable queens now.
That's what I'm saying. It's iconic. It's iconic.
All right. So our question, It was actually for Miss Philippines.
Oh.
So, what is the most significant change you've seen in the world in the last 10 years?
I think the most significant change that I've seen in the world is the rise of social media. And I think that it has benefits, right? We are able to now share our thoughts, our feelings, our cultures. I've been able to connect with so many people online and be exposed to just the beauty of the world, even where I haven't been able to travel, especially through pageantry. And I think that that is such a beautiful thing because sometimes we can get closed in our own little pockets, but the ability to connect with others around the world is just an amazing thing, and it's something that we should advocate more for.
Absolutely. Okay. That was good.
I can always feel when 30 seconds is
yeah.
right there. Yeah.
I'm very impressed.
Thank you.
I'm very impressed. Okay, all right. Our next question. Okay.
This
all
looks
right.
long. Oh, my goodness.
All right. So this was for Miss France.
Okay.
Given today's worldwide refugee crisis, do countries have an obligation to accept refugees, or do they have the right to close their borders?
So, whereas I think I understand that countries may want to close their borders, as we see just this increase of war and violence happening across the world, I think it is our duty as global citizens to make space for refugees, right? These are not people who just are trying to move just to move. These are people in need. And as a person who experienced a very similar experience moving from New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, you don't know what it's like to be vulnerable and not have a home to go to. Mm-hmm. So by opening our borders and allowing space for folks, it's the best thing we can do.
Yeah. I know that was a very complex question.
Yeah.
And I understand trying to fit all that in 30
yeah,
seconds.
It's difficult. There's a lot. And then it made me really think about like just that experience, like moving from New Orleans like that. It was difficult, but obviously made me who I am today. So everything happens for a reason.
Everything does. My parents were refugees too.
Yeah. It's difficult.
I understand there's a lot of political rhetoric.
Yeah.
When it comes to kind of open borders or closed borders, but I always think of my parents.
Yeah.
And I think of they just wanted a home.
Right? I literally saw my house underwater on CNN. Yeah. Like that, no one can tell you what that feels like. So I can only imagine how it was just for your parents. And I was in the States trying to move to another state, and it was difficult. So having to leave your country and everything that you're familiar with is difficult. But I think we just need to have more empathy for folks around the world. I think oftentimes we get caught up in, this is my space, and we focus too much on the differences instead of the similarities. Yeah. And it sounds simple, but I think we overcomplicate things.
I do,
we
right?
overcomplicate it.
I want a home.
Yeah.
I want a family.
Yeah.
Right? I want to be able to go to school.
Yeah, go to school. I want to make friends. I want to cook my favorite foods. It's not anything difficult, and that's what most folks want. They just want the space to live out their life in the best way possible.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. All right, so this will be our last question. This seems to be like a tough bunch of questions this year, so I'm...
All right, Miss California, let's keep it easy.
All right, so this was a question for Miss Haiti.
Oh.
Okay. So on January 21st, 2016, an estimated 4.1 million people marched worldwide for human rights, women's rights, and other issues. If you were able to participate, what would you have been marching for?
Oh my goodness. So now we're looking at 2025. I would definitely still be advocating for women's rights across the world. We know that there are women who still don't have the ability to have education, folks facing domestic violence, or even here in the United States where women don't have the choice about what happens to their body. I think that the only person who can make the best decision for you and your individual life is you. And so we should advocate for more laws to allow for women to make the best choices for themselves.
Yeah. Amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think as you were talking about that kind of overcomplication, right? That we kind of like, there's so many mixed messages, but what do women want?
Yeah.
Right? Have we asked women what they want from their lives?
And a lot of times when you're looking at some of the lawmakers, it's like, you're not even a woman. And it's not saying that people can't relate, but what I decide to eat and what you decide to eat, it doesn't matter, right? Like, if you decide to eat cheese and I'm lactose intolerant, why would I tell you you don't have to eat cheese?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
100%.
It's just that simple. Like we all have individual lives and paths, and so you have to make the decision that's best for you, and we need to make space for that.
Yeah. But I am lactose intolerant.
Okay, so neither of us needs to be eating cheese.
I am lactose intolerant.
Got it. Noted.
So thank you so much, Rebecca, for kind of sharing, you know, your journey with us, your advocacy, and answering all of our fun and often serious questions,
these
right?
were serious. I'm like, oh, man.
This was a serious year, 2016.
I had to turn on my thinking cap for real. I was like, all right, girl, let's get ready. So
we'll move on to our next part. And so this will be kind of your chance to kind of talk directly to our viewers. But what advice do you have for someone who wants to join beauty pageants, who wants to make this a part of their kind of advocacy journey, who wants to make this, you know, their platform? What advice do you have for them?
I would first say, do it. Pageantry will give you the best experience of your life, but know that it is a journey. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be a cakewalk. It's going to take a lot of time, a lot of dedication, and learning who you are as an individual. I say all the time that you have to be audaciously authentic because it takes audacity to be like, this is who I am. And you can't change it, and you're going to have to accept it and love it, but you need that on stage when you have 100 beautiful girls who are talented and amazing as well. But definitely do it, but know it's going to take work.
Oh, that's so, yeah. I think, you know, one of the messages that from our very first interview was that you're in a room with everyone who is beautiful, right?
Right.
And so what the bar is, that's the bar,
right?
Right? So how do you clear it? How do you show who you are as a person, and how do you kind of show the world that you're more than a pretty face, right?
Right. And it takes being really grounded, right? You can't let other people define what makes you beautiful and what makes you confident. You have to dig deep in yourself and be like, what do I love about myself? And that's kind of the hard work of pageantry, right? It takes looking in the mirror and being like, okay, these are some things that are not great. And it's not the physical things about you, but what traits do you have that you could work on, that you can be better? Can I show more empathy? Can I be a little kinder? Can I have more patience? And all of those things make you the better version of yourself, and that's what the judges and the audience wants to see in a title holder.
Oh, 100%. I think the outward beauty is there, right?
Yeah.
How do you show that inward beauty?
Exactly. That's the word. That's the word.
And so before we close off, is there anything that you want to say to our audience in terms of, you know, find me here.
Yes.
Love me on Instagram.
Yes.
Please plug your socials for us.
Absolutely. You can find me on all social media platforms at Rebecca Arianne. So it is Arianne. You can also look at all of my adventures under my hashtag, which is BetOnBecca. So you can see all of like my pageantry journey there. And you can also meet me at Palm Springs for Miss California USA, August 8th through the 10th in Palm Springs, California. So it's exciting.
So excited. We're so excited.
Yes. I hope to see you there.
Oh, we will be there.
Front and center?
There.
Front and center. Okay. I'm going to give you a Bet on Becca shirt. Okay. Like, you're going to have to wear the shirt.
We're going to have to wear so many shirts and have so many front posters for the girls.
I'll give you a button too.
Okay.
And just know, because my mom, my girlfriend, they are the ones. They're going to have the buttons. They're going to have the fans, the whistles.
We're so excited.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks. Hoping to have a great time.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I think more than anything, you gotta have fun.
Yeah, like right? I don't know if you can tell how excited I am. It's like now it's settling in. Like we're almost there. It's the home stretch, and I just can't wait to be back on stage.
Yeah, we're so excited to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this interview. Thank you to our Beauty Contesera fans. This is something that takes a lot of time, takes a lot of effort, but it's always so rewarding. So my name is Ayce. I am your correspondent with Contesera Beauty Pageant. We live for this, and we hope to see you again next time. So with all my love, thank you.